All right, here we go. Welcome in. It is I don't even know anymore. It is Friday, people. It is February the 7th. Welcome in. It is another edition of the Happy Hour Tip-Off Show. It's all about college hoops here. I'm Joe Raineri. SportsGrid.com is where you can find me. Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. And not a big card here tonight, guys, but of course leading into a monster weekend filled with some great conference matchups. Interesting card last night, Ralph, to say the least. 60-some-odd games, some head-scratchers, but all in all, we did have a couple of upsets. In fact, you got them 17 upsets by a dog of 2.5 points or more last night.
Excuse me. Yeah, and there were a handful of 1- and 2-point dogs as well that pulled the upset. So, you know, we're getting into those grind days of February, and the season's a few months old, and you're getting into your conference plays, and we saw some weird results last night, and they'll just continue to happen from here on out. That's what makes college basketball so great.
And again, there is a recurring theme here, guys. If you're seeing on the opening page of the tip-off show here with upsets. You notice that column, away, 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 away. It's now a couple of days in a row where we're starting to see some of these road teams, actually get the job done here. Rice, last night against UAB, didn't see that coming at all. Texas San Antonio, maybe we should have seen that coming. But, I mean, Ralph, it's road teams now are starting to come around here in conference play.
Well, UAB was off a couple big road wins. Mm-hmm. They went into UTSA and UTEP, and then, Rice was a very weak team, but Rice got hot offensively. And UTSA, we've talked about them on this show, one of the biggest disappointments earlier in the year. But when we get down to the top performances, the top scoring guard in the country, at least the top scoring guard duo, you're going to see Jackson put up 45. Mm-hmm. So, we're again, it's the grinding days. And the teams are have played, 8-10 road games. They're accustomed to going on the road. And when you get hot shooters, they are going to perform well.
Yes, they are. And, of course, there were some ATS last night, some covers there, of course, some big covers last night too, Ralph, there. And Coastal Carolina got smoked there by 35. That was only a 2-line. Look at that, 100 points, Ralph, no asterisk. That tells me that I don't think they missed many shots, did they?
Yeah, there was no asterisk on them. I am missing an asterisk, though. I can tell you that on one of the overs. I'll look it up as we go. But it's, again, Texas State isn't a team that you would expect to have been able to do that. But, again, there was just, again, yesterday was some bizarre scoring. And, Texas State, I'm looking right now, 100 points, 7 of 15 from three-point land. I would have expected more. They were 33 of 49 from two-point. They made 67%. So wow. I guess that's what happens when you get 32 rebounds. They only had a slight rebounding edge. They just shot the lights out, 63 to 53. And from 3-point, 47 compared to 19 for Coastal Carolina at home.
We talked about Eastern Washington last night, the battle there, Ralph, against Montana, and just couldn't get it done. But the game went way over, 146 and a half. It certainly went over. It was a battle for most of that game, though.
It was. It went back and forth, and it was a game that. Montana at home ended up, just being a little better of a team and, beating Eastern Washington twice now. They pretty much have control of the Big Sky. But, we know that winning the conference title is a pat on the back. Winning the conference tourney, you're going to have a fired-up Eastern team that has double revenge that very well could face Montana in the finals. So, those are the type of situations you look for. The overtime game was that Northern Arizona Idaho State. So the Detroit Wright game didn't even go over. Yep. Detroit, is a very fast-paced team. But the Idaho State game was an overtime game that I neglected to put
even
the
there, 152 and a half in the Wright State Detroit game, and it still went over here by 30 points. So Big performances last night. That game last night, USC, Ralph, we talked about it. 10 points seemed like an awful lot of points to give a USC team on the road against Arizona. Arizona wins, but another big performance by a guy with 900 letters in his name that neither of us can pronounce. But he has been there a lot this year, this kid. 23 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Across the board, great performance.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Double O, when you're talking about him, besides Jonah Matthews, he, and they have Reykjavik. I mean, they have you're looking at, a strong front court, probably one of the best front courts in the Big Ten with Double O and Reykjavik 6'9" and 7'10". But hey, the freshman came to play, and going on the road at Arizona, who has, again, a superstar freshman center on his own and to clog the middle. He's really leading that team. It's a nice performance by him. And, Weber State, Harding, 40s. You don't see 40s that much in college basketball. Nope. They obviously needed them. Sacramento State kept fighting back in that game, so Harding had to keep staying in. Weber could just never pull away, and ended up, he played 39 minutes and scored 44.
Yeah, and that's what you get. Big night last night. A small card here tonight, guys. I think just about 12 to 13 games on the board. But we do have, of course, a trend or an angle here or two that we can throw your way. Plus, we'll talk about some of the movers here on the board, Ralph. But what did you come up with for tonight's limited card here? Give us a trend or an angle we can sink our teeth into.
This Princeton team's playing incredible. Mm-hmm. Not only have they won 5 straight, all 5 games have gone under the total. St. Pete's 9-2 ATS their last 11. Cornell 3-13 over under at home, and Iona has struggled. They're 3-13 against the spread. Let me just do a quick shot to tomorrow, and
a lot of games on.
Give you a couple of cup. Yeah, again, we're going to mention Tennessee Martin. They're over 22-3 now. Wow. New Orleans 20-3 over under. Denver's 14-1 over under their last 15 games. The Zags got a brutal game against St. Mary's. They're on a 16-2 run. And Hampton, 10 straight overs. So just some overs to look at when you get to Saturday.
Yeah. Is there a game, Ralph, on Saturday that you because there's some really good ones, too. San Diego State Air Force is going to be good. Purdue, Indiana. I'm interested to see this St. Louis-Dayton game, too. I'm going to be very interested to see here because we're kind of getting into crunch time with a lot of these divisional matchups coming up on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I guess the one that jumps out that I'm interested in is Seton Hall and Villanova.
Yep, absolutely.
It's a game. That's probably the one that sticks out to me. You have Duke at North Carolina. Now with getting healthy, we'll see what turns out there. That just the history and the circumstance around that. So
Cole Anthony back. Yep.
Again, anytime the Zags play St. Mary's, but the Zags to me are, this is it. This is the Zags' best chance. This is their best chance to lose another game. If they win this. They do go to BYU February 22nd.
Oh, okay.
But, so you're looking at either 30-1 or 29-2 if Mary's or BYU can get them.
All right, so is Purdue going to drop another 100 against Indiana? Because I don't know anymore, Ralph. I don't know. Tomorrow, Purdue at Indiana. The way they beat up Iowa, I'm still shaking here from it.
All right, I'll bet you the beer I owe you they don't get to 100.
That it ain't gonna happen. I agree with you 100%, Ralph.
I'll even give you 2 overtimes, Joe.
They can play the game twice. We ain't getting there. Unbelievable.
Actually, you could have probably said, "Are they going to get to 75?" And I probably would have bet you.
Nope.
Iowa wants to run. Indiana does not want to run.
No,
especially after Indiana having lost 3 straight. So
that's so funny.
Back to Friday.
Yeah, but exactly. I was going to say that ain't happening, man. No way in hell. A couple of big matchups here tonight, featured matchup guys that we'll cover, of course. Maryland and Illinois, Big Ten, and Davidson, VCU. Davidson kind of underachieving here a little bit. And I think we can get this. This game is at 5, and I think we'll be able to get this show to you guys earlier. But Ralph, Harvard, Yale here, a big one. I know the Harvard's getting some money. It opened up 6.5. Yale has been dominant here, certainly in conference play, and we know they can shoot. Harvard, meantime, without Aiken, they've kind of been a different team. They're on a 2-game losing streak, but they are getting some love. Opened up at 6.5. I'm seeing 5.5 now for Yale at home.
Yeah, again, I talked about Princeton.
Yeah.
Princeton's the team that really surprises me right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Princeton wins the Ivy, and I would have,
crazy.
I would have bet at the beginning of the season it was Harvard or Yale.
Yep. Lock
me in. If I could say I'll take those two and lay 2-1, I would have done it. So, But with that being said, I don't see Harvard beating Yale tonight. Whether they keep it close, the number's about right where I thought it would be.
Right.
But Yale to me is just such a strong home team. And you look at Yale's losses. I mean, they lost at San Fran in overtime. They lost at Oklahoma State. Now, Oklahoma State's not playing great, but you're going to Iowa Gallagher, and they lost at Penn State and you lost at North Carolina by 3 points. So your Penn State lost by 2, your North Carolina lost by 3, your San Francisco loss is in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
So, Joe, proudly as an alum, you can say that Oklahoma State has the largest victory over Yale of anyone this year with their 64-57 win. So, I guess I would lean Harvard because Penn is not a good free throw shooting team.
Right.
They're in the 250. So if Harvard's going to play foul, and I'm guess they're going to have to because, they're off road losses at Penn in overtime and against Princeton, a 1-point loss. Again, a good loss, but this is pretty much desperation time when you were 2-2 and maybe going 3-3 against a team that's going to be 5-0, it's tough that, you got to think that this is almost a must win. So I do expect them to play hack-a-shack early. And with Penn being a bottom half free throw shooting team, I think Harvard can keep the game close.
Talk to me about St. Peter's too, Ralph. A team that we have played and we have backed on Fridays before, taking on Marist here. They're getting a lot of love in the market. Opened up at 3.5. They're making it up to 4.5 at this point here, Ralph. But Marist might be surprising some people this year. But St. Peter's is a team we've liked. They're on the road and they're a favorite in this one.
Yeah, that's the difference. I've liked St. Peter's, and I probably used them for 3 wins. Mm-hmm. But those wins were all at home and most of them as a small home dog role. You're looking at a St. Peter's team that on the road, they're 8-2 ATS, and you're going to say that's good, but you're only 3-7 straight up, and you're shooting under 40%. Yeah. So by no means am I on any part of St. Peter's today. It's an entirely different role, being that home dog or being that road dog to now being an away favorite.
Talk to me about a couple of these featured matchups here tonight. Maryland on the road. Okay, we know Maryland can win at home, Ralph. We've established that. Now they're heading to Illinois. Big Ten clash here. Illinois opens up as the 2-point favorite. It's been pushed to 3. Total coming down a little. Opened up at 131. I'm seeing a lot of 129, 129 and a halves here, Ralph. And we've... are we believers in Illinois? Are we believers of Maryland? I still don't know where to go with these two teams. I don't know what to get.
Well, I think Maryland, you might look at it and say Maryland had a couple close games, against Iowa and Rutgers and trailed.
Yeah.
But I think that's a positive. I think them having been down at home, learning how to come back and fight back. Illinois' offense runs through Dasamu, and Morcell is such a good defender for Maryland, and he shut him down the first time they played. So I look at it, and I think that is a Maryland situation that can keep it close. I would have asked 100 people, Joe, in September or October, who would be leading the Big Ten on February 7th, and I don't think one person would have said Illinois.
Yeah.
Right now, both Maryland and Illinois are 8-3, tied for first. Michigan State right behind them at 8-4, and Michigan State's going on the road tomorrow at Michigan. So, whoever wins this can be 2 games clear of everyone else. So, to me, it's Maryland in the driver's seat, because if they win this, they're going to look pretty. Best player on the court, probably with Jalen Smith, which you always like to have if you're going to pick a team to win on the road. But I think Illinois holds serve tonight. I really think they can do the job. And you look at home. Their only home loss was to Miami of Florida, but that was back December 2nd. That's an entirely different season than what you have, because with Frazier at point guard, you had him there the whole time, right, but you're mixing up your other people. It's Cockburn in the middle that's made him unique this year. Having that 7-footer, having that 300-pound 7-footer who can score, has made Illinois the difference and has gotten them where they are.
And it's tough because playing at home, playing on the road, and scoring on the road for Maryland has been really one of the big problems for them. Meanwhile, Illinois, very effective, very efficient at home from a scoring perspective, averaging almost 79 points per game at home. Maryland shoots less than 40% on the road this year, and the problem is that 2 of the 3 head-to-head meetings with these 2 teams, Rob, you would think maybe lean under. They've gone over 133.5, so it's tough. I mean, if Maryland has another tough night shooting, do I trust that this is going to go over? Do I trust Illinois to score enough to be able to cover to both of them? It seems like a low number. It seems like it should be over. But I gotta believe that Maryland can do enough to be able to get it to the over. Do you think that's the way to look at it?
Well, Illinois comes in with the number 27 adjusted defense.
Okay.
And let me go through Maryland's opponents. Rutgers has the number 7 defense. Maryland scored 56.
Okay. That was home or away?
That was home.
Home, okay.
Against Purdue, the number 13 defense, they scored 57. Against Wisconsin, the number 22 defense, they scored 54. Against Ohio State, the number 16 defense, they scored 67. Against Seton Hall, they scored 48. Against Penn State, they scored 69. So their top performance has been 69 points against a top 30 defense.
Yep.
Looking back since December the 1st.
Yep, it's tough. You've got to be able to rely. I know Illinois will be able to get some points on the board, but it's a tough matchup. You almost have to until Maryland can actually prove itself on the road and convincingly. It would be hard to go against Illinois in this one. But another one, Ralph, tonight, another game, interesting enough. How about Davidson, the Wildcats? Very underachieving year this year by just about everybody's standards. And now they find themselves on the road taking on VCU. And they're getting 9 points here, Ralph. At least that's what it opened up with at somewhere around 9.5. Now, Davidson starting to put it together, 4-1 in the last 5, and it's only lost, I believe, during that stretch came in, was it 4 overtime. So do you have enough confidence in Davidson in this matchup? Maybe they've turned a corner. You think they can keep it closer than 9 points?
I don't. There's 14 teams in the Atlantic 10.
Mm-hmm.
Davidson is 5-4, and they have played the number 14th schedule in the conference.
Wow.
VCU has played the 4th best conference. VCU's losses were both to Rhode Island and Dayton, the top 2 teams in the conference. Yep. I just think you're looking at a complete disparity between strength of schedule. I think the results are much closer. The current results and records are much closer because of who they've played. I think VCU is coming in off a loss. I think they are at home gonna lay the wood on this team. They're a team right now that is still playing good defense. Rhode Island exposed them on the road,
right?
But and they're up tempo, and that's really what you want. I mean, to lay these kind of points, you want that up tempo team, and VCU's playing as fast as anyone. Davidson, meanwhile, tries to play as slow as anyone,
right?
But they're not a good offensive rebounding team, and I just don't see them keeping with it here. Like you said, you're off a 4-1 record, but the only team that had a winning record in that stretch was probably St. Louis, which you beat at home, and that was St. Louis coming off that last second loss against Dayton at home in overtime.
Right.
So, I mean, I completely understand that situation. St. Louis let that Dayton loss cost them 2 losses.
Yes,
so
right.
Looking at Davidson's best win, I can say it wasn't even their best win. It was St. Louis's loss.
Yep, it's true. And I'm looking at this game, and I'm looking at the total here, Ralph, and I'm saying, well, you talked about being a little more up-tempo here. The overs 3-1-1 in Davidson's last 5 on the road, 3-1-1 in their last on the road against winning opponents, and it's not like VCU. They're 5-1 in their last 6 overall, 6-2 to the over in their last 8 following a loss. So points might not be a problem to come by. The total's hanging around that 136, so it would be hard for me to take the under in this game, no?
Well, the interesting thing is this. How do you rate someone's tempo?
Well,
when Ken Palm makes their tempo, they're looking at offense and defense and how many possessions per game. When you break down VCU's offense, they are number 25 on offense, and they're number 342 on defense. Mm-hmm. So when the opponent has the ball, VCU swarming defense, teams take very long to shoot the ball.
Right.
When VCU has the ball, they go down and fire up with only 24 teams in the country being quicker than them. So VCU is one of those tempo teams where you can't really say this is their tempo. They are dual tempoed. On offense, they're as fast as they get, and on defense, there's only 11 teams in the country where opponents take longer to take their average shot than against VCU because of that defense they play.
Let me just throw out there, guys, that Davidson and VCU, last 7 games between these two teams, the under has hit, Ralph, believe it or not. They've actually played, to your point. They may be chucking up shots quick, but boy, oh boy, are they're causing some havoc there on the defensive end, at home no less. So it might be a way to look at the under, the way these two teams have. And Davidson's not even close to being the team that they've been in the past couple of years as well. So,
yeah, well, like you said, Joe, I just looked it up. Yep. Their last 10 meetings, they're 1-9 over under.
Yeah,
and they're 7 straight unders. So, yep. and listen to this, they're under by 15, 11, 9, 14, 22, 27, 21. Mm-hmm. So in their last 7 games, they're 0-7 to the under. The average under is by about 16 points per game, with none being closer than 9.
Love it. Yep. So there you go, guys. Answer is in the answer. And again, Davidson been much better in past years than they are actually this year. So, all right. So you got 2 featured games here tonight, and you got about 12 games altogether here, Ralph, on the card. Was there a best bet among what you had here tonight that you liked?
Well, Joe, I am, again, we don't hide behind bad days, bad weeks.
Oh no, we suck.
I am having my worst college basketball season ever. And there's times I wish I could say I had an excuse. Am I not spending the time? Am I distracted? No, it is just, it's me making wrong decisions at the end and leaving teams like USC off, which I said I left off and putting. So, I'm going to give. I only have 1 play today. I'm going to give it out here. And it's Troy plus the points, and I'm going to give you a little
South Alabama,
a little situation here. This has been a 74% system, and it says to take a home dog that's off an upset win as a dog of 12 or more.
Okay.
So Troy is off a big upset win.
Right.
And the last time you played this opponent, you lost and scored under 55. So you're playing a team that beat you last time and probably beat you handily because you scored under 55 points. This game, you're a home dog and you're off a big upset win. 74% system, and then you look at South Alabama.
Right.
I don't think South Alabama deserves to be an away favorite. They're 3-10 against the spread as a favorite. They're 0-3 as a away favorite. Troy is 4-0-1 at home when holding their opponents to 50% or less. They're 0-2 ATS when they allow over 50%. Mm-hmm. The Jaguars are a team shooting about 45% in conference action. And that is me just basically reading what my play was at Wager Talk. Yeah. So you guys want to know how I handicap games, what you're getting if you buy my plays at Wager Talk, that is basically the write-up that I had. So, it is on ESPN2 tonight. It tips off at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. You might find a 4.5, but that's game 874, Troy plus the points.
I love it. And it's going to be actually, I do like that. As a matter of fact, I'm throwing that one in there right now. I'm torn between this Buffalo and going to the MAC, Ralph. This Buffalo Western Michigan game here. Two of the Central Michigan rather is really the two. I think the class of the MAC, at least this year anyway, so what we're looking at. And, I keep looking at this total, and it's hovering around that 165. And while, yes, tempo for Buffalo, I get it. You know what I mean? They are a team that has no problem getting up and down the court. But Buffalo the under's gone 6 of the last 7 with Buffalo. And it's no different with Central Michigan, another team known to be able to put up some points, Ralph, but 5 of their last 7 have gone the under. A lot of things got to go right for 165, 164 and a half to hit, man. I don't see it. I don't see it happening, especially since we're dealing with, listen, Central Michigan started off not great, but they're 6-2 in MAC play. So this is the class of the conference. I don't see them getting to 165 points.
You got bigger cojones than me, Joe.
I
understand the point, and it's a very valid point because, you miss a couple threes early, and you're under pace.
Yeah.
To hit that. 4 points a minute, and basically when I'm doing totals in my head, I'm going. They've played 6 minutes. 3 points a minute is 18 points. 4 points is 24, and you're figuring out what they are. So you need 4 points a minute, which means, every 10 minutes you need to have those 40s to get to 160, and you need more than that. So, again, you are talking 2 top 10 teams as far as tempo in the country,
right?
But you're also paying that price. So, again, no issues with that. I mean, I like to play because it's a contrarian play, and people often think, well, if you have a fast tempo, there's only one way you can go.
Yes,
but it's not the case. They went to Western Michigan and scored 85, and that was, 63 right where you are.
Right.
Game before was 137 against Ball State. So, again, I have no opinion on it. I usually stay away from those real high numbers. I would much rather go under on a low number than over on a high number.
Right.
So from that aspect, I don't think I've ever used over 160. So I agree there's only one place to go, which would be the under. So see what happens.
Yep. And again, it's one of those situations where you're the class of the MAC. These two teams are it, guys. They're going to be battling it out. So I would expect maybe a little tightness. I still think there's value in backing Central Michigan in the points too, but I'll go contrarian, and everyone goes left. I'll go right under 165 here tonight in that game. But in the meantime, do not forget Monster Weekend, guys, in college hoops. Always an opportunity for you to be able to profit over at wagertalk.com. Make sure you head over to Ralph's page. Check him out. Plays will be up all weekend long, both Saturday and Sunday over at Wager Talk. And nice to see a couple of you actually have gone ahead. Actually, a bunch of you really have taken advantage of the 30-day option right now over at sportsmemo.com. Pick any handicapper you want, 30 days for just $210. Every play for 30 days at sportsmemo.com. Anybody you want for $210 using that code in the scroll there, JR210. So great opportunities to start profiting in college hoops, guys. Make it a very profitable weekend. Head over to wagertalk.com, get to the Cal Sports page, get to sportsmemo.com. Make sure you like this video and come back and join us again on Monday because we start the whole hamster wheel and the cycle all over again, Ralph. So Ralph's going undefeated, by the way, this weekend in college. I'm just throwing it out there so you guys know he's going undefeated this weekend in college hoops and the XFL, which I'm going to be forced to watch.
Are you starting the XFL, Joe? I have not even looked at it.
I you know what my theory is? We're on equal footing with the bookmakers because they know just about as much as we do. So I'm going to take the unders and I'm going to take all the dogs. There you go for the first week because I don't know. They don't know.
My thoughts are this. I like the couple teams that have experienced coaches. I think it's going to give them an edge early. So, that's my thought going in. We'll see what pans out. But I did not look at the rosters yet. I'm going to sort of take names.
I mean, there are some more names than you would think
Yeah, you have Hackenberg from Penn State and Tamu from
Jones,
from Old Miss. Yeah, I mean, so you have a bunch of kids that were free agents the last couple years, undrafted free agents, and you do have a couple NFL retreads that made some starts a few years ago and playing. Yep. So it's a mix. But again, that's my thought going in. I'm not going to play anything. Is first 3 or 4 games, experienced coaches will have an edge. We'll see if that's true or not.
Yep. June Jones, I don't think, drafted a tight end. So there you go, guys. Shows you how much tight ends are going to matter in this thing. Good old June Jones.
June Jones could be in the NFL and not have a tight end.
That's so true. Ralph Michaels, get there today at Cal Sports LV on Twitter, wagertalk.com. Guys, good luck with the plays. We'll wrap it up for you again on Monday and get you going. Good luck. Talk to you tomorrow, Ralph.
See you, bud.